The Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats, is apologizing for his public reaction to the news that the president invited Russian President Vladimir Putin to the White House in the fall for a second face-to-face meeting. He said he did not mean to be disrespectful or criticize the actions of the president.
Now, remember, Director Coats didn't agree with the president's decision to meet privately with Putin, saying that he would have suggested a different way had the president asked him. CNN White House reporter Sarah Westwood in New Jersey with more details. Why did he feel compelled to release a statement? Any idea, Sarah?
Well, National Intelligence Director Dan Coats is certainly attempting some cleanup late yesterday after his statements on Thursday at the Aspen Security Conference had been interpreted as disagreement with President Trump over the issue of whether Trump should invite Putin to the White House for a second summit later this fall. Remember that Dan Coats learned from his interviewer that President Trump had extended that invitation. He said in a statement, "Some press coverage has mischaracterized my intentions in responding to breaking news presented to me during a live interview. My admittedly awkward response was in no way meant to be disrespectful or criticize the action of the president." Now, meanwhile, Trump is also said to be frustrated with the pace of negotiations in North Korea. According to a report in the Washington Post, President Trump has been quizzing his aides daily about the status of those negotiations as the talks stall. President Trump has been publicly proclaiming the North Korea talks to be a success, but as recently as earlier this month, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo traveled to Pyongyang and was stood up by Kim Jong-un, who refused to meet with Pompeo. Americans have not been able to get in touch with their North Korean counterparts, and it's yet another example of how President Trump is facing obstacles from North Korea to Russia on the foreign policy front. Victor and Christy.
All right. Hey, Sarah, thank you. We appreciate it very much.
All right, joining me now to discuss, Julian Zellos, who's CNN political analyst and historian and professor at Princeton University, and Siraj Hashmi, commentary writer and editor for the Washington Examiner. Gentlemen, welcome back to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's first start with the moment. This was Thursday in Aspen when the Director of National Intelligence learned of this invitation to Vladimir Putin.
Vladimir Putin is coming to the White House in the fall.
Say that again?
Vladimir Putin coming
Did I
to
hear
the...
you? Did I hear you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to be special.
So we have this now apology from the DNI, but let me start with you, Siraj. What makes this moment remarkable is that he had no idea this was coming and that the leader of an adversarial nation had been invited by the president while he was being rebuked for his performance just days earlier.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing Dan Coats' response to this news about Putin potentially coming to the White House in October or in the fall, perhaps. You know, it's a very genuine response that I think a lot of Trump administration officials have when they hear news coming out of the White House, whether it be through Twitter or through White House statements, considering the fact that there are many unpredictable moves that President Trump likes to make. Vladimir Putin coming to the White House seems to be more of a do-over, considering the Helsinki summit was such a PR disaster for the White House, and the amount of walkbacks that Trump has had to make seem to be taking another step further. And I don't think Dan Coats really has much to apologize for. It seems to be like a genuine reaction, a genuine human reaction he seems to be having.
Yeah, and I don't know, and again, I wasn't in the room, but if people there took it as he was laughing at the president or laughing at the decision, it's just the situation he and Andrea Mitchell found themselves in. Let me come to you, Julian. Does this settle this? Because there had been reports that the president was furious over this laughter in response to his decision. The president has gone after Jeff Sessions for more than a year, and he still has a job. Does this settle any of the questions about any vulnerability of Coats in his position?
Well, yeah, it suggests the White House isn't looking to push him out. I think they wanted this apology or clarification, and it suggests Coats isn't going to retire or resign anytime soon. But it doesn't solve the tension. The tension is about the policy with Russia, and the tension is about the incredible disconnect between what the president does and what the rest of his administration, including intelligence officials, even know. And so that story will not go away.
Yeah, and so Raj, what Sarah read was the first half of DNI Coates' statement. Let me read the second half here. I and the entire intel community are committed to providing the best possible intelligence to inform and support President Trump's ongoing efforts to prevent Russian meddling in our upcoming elections, to build strong relationships internationally in order to maintain peace, denuclearize dangerous regimes, and protect our nation and our allies. After his interviews late in the week and the clarifications and would to wouldn't and all of that, do we have a clear picture of the degree of confidence the president puts into the intel community's assessments?
That's really a toss-up, Victor, because President Trump has always doubted the findings that the Russians actually meddled in the 2016 presidential election. He seems to be wavering back and forth, and these walkbacks that we've seen this week seem to show that his advisors are really talking to him and telling him he needs to do this, rather than it's his own personal convictions that he believes this. And, you know, it's one thing to question the intelligence findings, you know, in a private setting or even within your own country. It's a completely different scenario when you're questioning these intelligence findings in front of our, you know, biggest geopolitical adversary in Vladimir Putin and Russia. That's just the type of concessions and the type of, you know, capitulation that you don't want to see from an American president on foreign soil.
And not just in front of Putin, but in front of the world who was watching
Exactly.
that news conference.